Bruce? You help me find some glass, huh?
What fun out on the beach collecting glass with friends. But what do you do with it all? One of my favorite things to do is to make what I call sea glass lanterns. They can be used as night lights, or they can be used as pendant holders to hold your jewelry. So, for the fancy stuff you find out there, the pretty pieces of glass, we like to make something that looks a little fancier. Here's a pendant holder that holds 13 pieces of different colored sea glass for a necklace. But what do you do with all that big chunky stuff you find? Well, here again, we can use it to make more of an outdoor style lantern. And in this case, we're using mason jars. But first we need to start with the base. So while you're out there, get yourself some driftwood. Then what we're going to do is we're going to find some pieces we can use for a base and simply drill a hole in them. And then we'll place an upright pole in there to hold the lantern. Now, the tricky part is getting it centered. So generally I like to make the lantern piece first, and then, as a counterweight, figure out where my piece is going to go, drill my hole the same size as the stick I'm using for my upright, and then here's the tricky part, checking it to make sure that it's going to balance okay. Remember, when you're putting something in the air that weighs something, it's going to change the center of gravity. Then we use some door and window sealant. Place your post in its upright position, wipe it off, and get it as clean as you can. And then I like to take some sand and sprinkle that onto the sealant that you can see. Then, for extra sturdiness, I'm going to drill a hole and place a screw in there so that it will hold nice and steady. And then finish by wiping some of that sealant across the screw and adding a little more sand on top of it so that it looks nice and finished and sort of beachy. Now have fun with this, because there's all different sizes and shapes you can make, all different styles. You can go as fancy as you want. My favorite thing to do is to find some of the root ball systems and create something from that, and you'll see that you can have some pieces that look very artsy and beautiful. Get out there and have fun. Okay, here we're going to make the light for what I call the outdoor lantern. What inspired me to do this was I had a lot of large pieces that I had to find something to use them for, and I found some mason lids on the beach. I realize not everybody finds mason jars lids on the beach, so you can go buy them. They're very inexpensive, and you'll need both sizes, both the wide mouth and the regular. Now start with the wide mouth, and we're going to make a paper guide. First we're going to divide it in half and then into quarters, and each of those quarters into thirds. We're going to cut that out, and we're going to make 12 marks on the side of the rim of the large mouth jar. Dividing your stencil into thirds, we mark the small mouth jar, and then go back and mark the large mouth jar again, but this time on the top. Then we simply drill all our holes. Now, see what I mean? 12 around the side of the wide mouth, 3 on the side of the small mouth, and then 3 more on the top of the wide mouth. And now we're going to start making our chains. Depending on how tall you want your piece to be, you're going to measure 3 chains of equal size. And then we'll use round rings to connect them on both sides. We make the 3 smaller chains the same way, except we want rings on both sides of them so we can attach them both to the top lid and the bottom lid, like so. Now pick out about 12 pieces of glass you want to work with. Now you can either drill the pieces and use rings to attach them, like so, or what I usually prefer to do is to use a cheaper floral wire to make a long stem, wrap the piece like I normally do, but then use that stem to connect it to the lid, like so. A little hint when connecting them, I usually use 3 different colors of glass, and I'll go and do all the green pieces first, then all the white pieces, and then all the brown pieces. It's much easier to balance and work with that way. Now choose your light, either a battery powered like this or an actual candle, and voila! And a finished piece looks somewhat like this. Be creative. What can you come up with? Join us next time when we show you how to do the fancy ones for jewelry. I'm always amazed at the many different and fascinating colors you can find on the beach. Just broken glass that's been polished by the sea. So today I'm going to show you how to make a jewelry stand that can double as a nightlight. Okay, for these stands I usually use about 13 different colors. 1 for on the stand for display, and then 12 up on the lantern itself. So begin by picking 13 different colors you want to work with. Now you saw in part 2 I use mason jars for the outdoor lanterns, but for the indoor lanterns I go and buy these little Chinese crystal lanterns, and I take them apart. I begin by taking all the crystals off. I'll admit it's a little labor intensive because you have to take them all apart by removing them by the split ring. Then I remove all the chains. Now these chains I actually use for the pieces for the outdoor lanterns. I like to use a smaller, more elegant chain for these lanterns. And again, we'll make 3 pieces for the upper and then 3 shorter pieces for the lower. One reason why I make my own is I can make them a little bit smaller. You'll see the one on the left is the new one. The old one is the larger one that came with the set. Now going the opposite way, you slide the split ring back on with the chain in it. I usually count the holes so that I can get the sections into thirds so the chain will hang a little more evenly. And you'll do that with all 6 chains until you have it all back together again, but again with your new chains instead of the ones that came with the set. Again, save those old chains for the outdoor set. One other thing I need to do for this set is I need to make hooks to hold the pieces onto the lantern. And I do this by using Christmas ornament hooks and cutting them in half, and then I shape them myself into the smaller shape that I want to have for the piece. And they connect on like so. Now for this particular one, I've glued the base of a white bottle on the base of the display itself, and then now I'm going to start making all of my pieces for the upper lantern. And here again, you can wrap them any way you want. Here's my set of blues. And as time goes on, you'll see, one by one, the lantern come together. And voila! Add your light, and there you have your lantern. And 13 different necklaces to wear. The great thing is, every single piece is completely different. As you can see, at times I end up making quite a few all at the same time. Here was one of my favorites that had kind of a ball root system on it. I thought this was absolutely gorgeous. But by far, the prettiest one I've ever seen is the one I made for my wife. And this all started with, first of all, a more elaborate system, but the root ball I found had a rock in the center of it and created just what I thought was an absolute stunning piece. Use your imagination, get out there and look, and there's lots to be found and lots to do. Good luck and have fun!